Hey everybody, and welcome back to Inside Gaming Daily for Tuesday. Let's talk about the PlayStation 5, the console so nice they made it twice.
Yeah, as
Good,
you probably
Brian.
know, Sony last week finally unveiled the cost and release dates of both versions of the PS5. There's the $499 regular edition and the disc-free version that costs $100 less.
Yeah, this is the first generation where both Sony and Microsoft have released all digital versions of their next-gen consoles. It's yet another sign of the continued rise of gamers preferring digital copies over physical.
Rise of gamers.
But will you be able to actually buy a digital-only PS5? Because we're hearing that retailers have been given a lot fewer of those compared to the standard version.
Eurogamer and Ars Technica each polled retailers in the US and the UK to get an idea of how many standard PS5s they're getting versus all digital ones. And what they found was that retailers will have far fewer all digital PS5s when they go on sale in November, leading to the question of whether or not there will be enough of them to meet demand. No, because it's a new console and it's the holiday season. So no, there won't be.
Yeah, here in the US, Ars Technica pulled GameStops in several metro areas around the country to see who was allocated what by Sony. It obviously wasn't scientific, but it at least gives us a snapshot of what a few retailers are getting. And in every case, the GameStops have been allocated far more standard PS5s. In a lot of cases, the ratio was 80% standard PS5s to the 20% all digital.
Maybe that's how they got the price so low. They're like,
Yeah, they're just like,
we're
we
not
just
gonna,
won't make
we're
them.
not gonna give any out.
Yeah.
And people will be like, well, I already wanted one. I guess what's $100? About the most even split was at two stores in Dallas and Cleveland, big gaming states, Ohio and Texas.
That's right.
Who reported that their ratios are 33% all digital PS5s versus 67% standard versions.
Look out for those gamer swing states in November. That's really going to be what seals it.
Real.
So one store in Pittsburgh said their allotment was only 13% all digital, but Pittsburgh, not a gaming city.
Known for not being a very progressive gamer town.
However, let's take a break from Pittsburgh for a moment, shall we?
It's kind of funny because that is where they shot it.
Shall we? Anyway,
Sort of an Alfred vibe.
Please stop talking. How are things going across the pond? It sounds pretty much the same.
Eurogamer cited a source at a major UK retailer who said their allocation was about 25% all digital editions versus 75% regular. So yeah, about the same split.
Wonder what the retailer was. You think it was Sainsbury's?
I'm off to Game, to store Game.
Does anyone need anything from Game?
Yeah, so why are so few digital-only PS5s being allocated to retailers? Kind of seems strange because Sony has never mentioned that there might be a lot fewer all-digital versions to go around. They've always presented both models as being equal. And to further add to the intrigue, Sony Interactive Entertainment President Jim Ryan, he was weirdly dodgy when recently asked about how the split would be between the two consoles, which personal addendum to that is I find very weird considering PlayStation's ultra visibility in a tweet that they posted Saturday where they were talking about just really straightforward, like, hey, we realize we f***ed up, like we know that we kind of botched this pre-order situation, like we're going to make this better and there will be more available.
My assumption is somebody messaged a social media manager and said, say something. He told the Japanese site AV Watch that the ratio between the digital edition and the disk drive model is currently something we cannot disclose at this time.
Ryan added, we cannot give specific information on numbers, but we can say that we plan to produce the necessary number of units to meet the demand for that model type.
So what's the reasoning behind this ratio then? So, well, let's throw out some theories in just a second, but first let's talk about everyone's favorite VPN service, ExpressVPN.
Today's episode of Inside Gaming Daily is brought to you by ExpressVPN. There are a ton of VPN providers out there. You've probably heard of a couple of them, and some of you may have even used a VPN before, but I've used a couple of VPNs myself, but I can say with full confidence that ExpressVPN is the best VPN on the market. Here's why. ExpressVPN does not log your data. Lots of really cheap or free VPNs make money by selling your data to ad companies. Kind of defeats the purpose. ExpressVPN developed a technology called Trusted Server that makes it impossible for their servers to log any of your info. Second is speed. It's a big problem with a lot of VPNs. They really slow your device down. My internet speed's incredibly fast with ExpressVPN. I connect to servers that are thousands, hundreds of miles away, still streaming HD video, no issues. And the last thing that really sets it apart is how easy it is to use. Unlike other VPNs, you don't have to input or program anything. It's just an app, just start it up, click the button, that's it. It's so easy your grandparents could use it. And it's not just me saying this. Wired, The Verge, CNET, and other tech experts rate ExpressVPN the #1 VPN in the world. Then there you go. So protect yourself with the VPN that I use and trust. Use my link, expressvpn.com/insidegaming today and get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. Visit expressvpn.com/insidegaming to learn more. Thank you for sponsoring today's show.
All right, so back to the seeming lack of digital-only PS5s. Is there something nefarious going on here? So is Sony intentionally producing less digital-only PS5s because of supreme pressure from the retailers who want to keep us firmly rooted in the past?
If you're an old school game seller like GameStop, a digital-only console is a nightmare, because that means after a customer buys one from you, that's the last time you see them, which is also the perk of having a mobile console, is not having to go to GameStop again. So maybe they'll pick up an extra controller, a headset. They're not going to be back in your store to buy games. I mean, surely the pull of GameStop will be enough to bring them in anyway.
If I were GameStop, I would simply just start selling digital codes on like cards.
I think they're going to start getting real weird. They're going to be like, do you want a subscription to Game Informer? We have some plantains in the back. Would you like a bride?
We've got a fresh batch of carne adobada in the back. I don't know why that person had a British accent.
We have a beautiful selection of salmon. Used games have always been a major profit generator for the GameStops of the world. Probably the main profit generator, other than maybe the occasional like launch of a console.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, digital games are the main reason that GameStop has been struggling over the last several years, to put it mildly. Calling GameStop struggling is like seeing someone drowning and say like, they're not the best swimmer. Not to mention other game retailers who presumably are going through the same thing.
Yeah, so maybe retailers don't want these. Then again, Sony could just be playing it safe because it's a new product for them and they don't want to overestimate how many people might be interested in actually giving up physical copies. I can say from experience, I was shocked to learn that the majority of my friend group that did manage to get a pre-order, almost all of them went with the disc version.
Yeah, in that interview with AV Watch, Ryan kind of spoke to that point. He noted that Sony has never produced two different console models at the same time, and that it's very hard to know the right ratio. He said they're doing their best to predict demand. Easy, everybody. It's actually really hard. So can you lay off of Jim Ryan?
What are you talking about? The Pro and the Slim.
Patrick, give him a break.
Am I missing something?
My guy's kind of
Did
busy.
They not
I think
produce those at the same time?
launching.
I guess, yeah. Which underscores the fact that they're playing a guessing game right now with a new kind of product. If the all-digital model starts selling out, it makes sense that Sony would make more of them, because they make more money then too. And they make more money on digital games than they do on physical, probably, because they don't have to produce boxes and all that bull.
And since they priced it at $400, it's definitely possible that they'll be more popular than Sony thought. The all-digital Xbox Series S is cheaper too at just $300, but it's also a less powerful version than the Xbox Series X. The all-digital PS5 is exactly the same power-wise as the standard edition, it just doesn't have a disc drive.
So you can see how the all-digital PS5 could be a surprise bestseller, but we'll see. There might not be any to sell.
And while we're talking about sales, let's talk about pre-orders. It's no secret that the PS5 pre-orders were kind of a mess. Kind of is an understatement, with a bunch of retailers immediately jumping the gun after the big PS5 presentation on Wednesday, which led to an internet stampede and a bunch of people upset that they couldn't get one, and a bunch of bots buying most of them, I think, and eBay pre-orders for like $5,000.
On the one hand, I kind of feel for Sony, because it's like every retailer just broke street date and was like, well, they did it, so we got to do it now too. But also like, you got to anticipate that that's coming. That ultimately
always
falls on
happens
them.
every year.
Yeah. So yeah, Sony then apologized for the stampede, saying, let's be honest, PS5 pre-orders could have been a lot smoother. We truly apologize for that.
They added that over the next few days, we'll release more PS5 consoles for pre-order. Retailers will share more details, and more PS5s will be available through the end of the year.
So there you go. While Sony has definitely done a good job with its showcases for its next-gen consoles, the rest has been kind of a mess. Also, considering the fact that so much of what they said during those press conferences was also wrong. From the looks of it, if you want a digital-only PS5, you'd better act fast, because it doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot to go around.
There will be people in the streets tearing each other's eyes out for these all-digital PS5s. They're going to be our currency in a few years.
So grab some keyboard cleaner, some masking tape, an X-Acto knife, some dry erase markers, and a pepperoni hot pocket, and let's build the perfect next-gen console. Sony recently announced the price for both versions of their new console, and they're offering up a disc-based one and a discless one. That's great, but let's start by taking a look at the aesthetics. I'm sure that we've all